While several former top U.S. military leaders are sounding the alarm. In a letter to the editor in the Washington Post, they write, quote, healthy civil-military relations require mutual trust and respect, so civilian leaders will seek out the best military advice of the nation's nonpartisan career military leaders, who will in turn be unafraid to provide that counsel. Firing officers for implementing the policies of previous civilian leaders undermines these principles, creating an untenable environment. Joining me now is one of the authors of the letter, former U.S. Army Secretary Louis Caldera. Thank you for being here. And I just want to start off with some of what we just read of you all's words. You say you're deeply alarmed by Trump's overhaul of military leadership. What are your concerns?
Well, we're specifically addressing firing the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, firing the chief of naval operations, and firing the senior military lawyers in each of the services. This is really unprecedented. Very few, if any, senior officers have ever fired before their statutory term was complete, and only for performance reasons. No performance reasons were given for why these individuals were fired. And that just sends a chilling message throughout the entire military that the reason they were fired is inappropriate, that it has to do more with making statements about cultural issues and political issues than it does about national security. And anything that increases risk for our nation actually makes us less safe. Eliminating people who are in senior roles, who've been serving for 35, 40 years in uniform, who can provide that expertise to the president on national security matters, just disrupts our entire military.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt there. But I just meant to say that your letter reads that abruptly removing general and flag officers without adequate justification disrupts the chain of command, and to your point, weakens morale and exacerbates challenges in an already turbulent global security environment. Just to continue on that thread, what do you expect could be the downstream effects of these changes?
Well, part of the message that it's sending is that the administration only wants yes men, mostly men, not women, yes men in these positions who are not going to provide the critical information that they need to the president as he's thinking about making national security decisions. Everybody understands the president gets to set policy about where and how troops will be deployed, but they really need to listen to the military leaders. The president does not have the experience in uniform, neither does his Secretary of Defense, across all the branches and across a 35, 40-year career, to really understand the relationships between our allies, the security situation in different regions of the world, the impacts of what has been tried and not been tried in the past, and the second and third order effects. And so listening to the military means you can achieve your goals, and you'll do it with less risk to the operations and to the nation. And if you threaten retribution simply because people don't agree with your politics, that's not what this is about. Uniformed officers are nonpartisan. They are not loyal to the president. They are loyal to the Constitution, and they need to be able to fulfill their duties to the Constitution, to defend and support the Constitution, including to be able to say to the president when they believe that an action they're proposing is either unconstitutional or unlawful. And if they're just going to fire anyone who dares to say it is an inappropriate use of our military, it will harm us in the eyes of our allies, it could cause our soldiers to commit war crimes, you don't want that. That's going to be terrible in terms of the reputation of our country, our military, and our ability to recruit. And yet that's the kind of officer corps that they're likely to get if there's retribution every time someone disagrees with them.
And just really quickly before we go, because Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth defended the shakeup, saying the president deserves to pick his key national security and military advisory team. A lot of presidents have made changes. What is your response?
Uniformed leaders understand the president gets to set policy. And if a new administration comes in and sets policy, they follow the new policy. You change policy, not personnel. And you don't change them in the middle of their tenure when they're working on thousands of things to contribute to our national security that now you've stopped dead in their tracks.
Understood. Former U.S. Army Secretary Louis Caldera, really appreciate the time and perspective.
Thank you.
All right, so to come on the eve of a crucial